Hey guys, welcome back. It's Claytano. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, definitely appreciate you guys coming back because I haven't posted a video in about a week and a half or so. But the good news is I am back and we're going to be starting with the top 5 natural 5-star fire monsters for real-time arena. Now, it took me a while to come up with this and I was actually going over it a little bit more in detail to see exactly who might the top 5 be. And it's coming from somebody who got to the 1501, got the wings and stuff. I didn't actually do any fights past 1501. I got there and I just stopped just because I didn't feel like doing it anymore. But going forward after this, I'll kind of give you my strategy first before we go over the top 5 natural 5-star monsters. Fire specifically for RTA. I do a video once a day for the next 5 days on each element and the top 5 5-star monsters for each element and why. Now originally this was my RTA team was to run Verad with Camilla, Meho Wang, and either Emma or the Delphoy. Now any of my tanks, any of my support monsters, I ran speed, HP, defense because the HP falls off after a while and the defense is much more relevant as the fights get longer. I was planning for long fights, so I decided, okay, I'm going to have defense on my team. And that's that. I used that for a while and I was able to get to around 1450 with it, but I wasn't able to just push past that limit. And then free rune removal came around and I was able to just completely switch out my runes. I always got CC'd down by Ganymedes, Hathors, other Verads if they picked it first and things like that, and I was just sick and tired of it, so I came up with a different strategy that was able to do me really good, and maybe you guys can take the strategy as well. Basically what I did was I took the free-to-play Gemini. Everybody got one. If not, I apologize, but it was a HOH monster. I know that not everybody can farm the HOH monsters, but Gemini was a really big factor in it. And then I switched my, so Gemini was Despair, Revenge, so that way he doesn't have any buffs on him, so that way he can remove buffs a little bit easier. But I also had Triton on Swift. So Triton was Swift, broken set, just with a lot of accuracy. Really didn't matter the stats too much, I just made sure that he was fast, and as fast as possible, so he's about 286. Not like the fastest monster in the world, but he did enough, especially with the Gemini leader skill. And then with those two monsters, then I put 3 AoE nuking CC monsters. So I count Zeros in there as far as like a CC nuke monster because he has that skill reset. So I did include him, and then I also included Verad, of course, and the light bomber. Now those 3 monsters are really pay to win, so I understand if you can't make the same team, you know, that's alright, but you can use Lagmaron, you can use any other type of AoE type CC, you can use Veramos or even the Ganymede, Hathor type monsters as well. So whatever works for you, whatever is AoE CC, that would do just the same. Also, if you have a Tiana instead of a Triton, that can have the same effect. The reason why I used Triton is because he had a decrease attack bar effect on his 3rd skill, so it brought everybody back down to my same speed. And then I also had my Zeros, Verad, and Dover as fast as I possibly could with as much HP as possible, or sorry, much attack power and damage as possible. It didn't really matter how much damage they did. What mattered was the speed and their accuracy. So it was Verad with high accuracy and Zeros with 30% accuracy, which on him is enough, and then at least 30% on the Dover as well. I actually went 15 wins and no losses once I switched to that team because they could ban any single one of my monsters and I would still have enough buff removal and AoE CC to pretty much completely control the match. And aside from that, it was just an easy 1500 from there, and I hope you guys get the same thing. Now, I was actually wondering myself before I started what the difference was between the legendary wings and the normal wings. because I thought, you know, they'd be bigger. I thought they would, you know, show more based on the description or based on the little icon, but they're actually the same size. Just this one has the lightning going around it, so it's basically this plus just the lightning put together. So it's these two put together make the legend, if that makes sense. But overall, still pretty cool, still pretty nice to have. Fun, they look nice, so anyway, I thought it was worth it. I thought it was worth re-ruining for it. But without further ado, let's get into the top 5 natural 5-star fire monsters for real-time arena. Hopefully this will help you guys out as well in getting your 1500 before it ends. No, it ends in a couple days, but hopefully I got this in soon enough. So number 5 is Laika, the fire dragonite. And he's really good because any type of CC or damage or bruiser type monster is really going to actually be really good. And the fact that he is going to be basically stunning the opponents anytime he gets touched is really nice, because it kind of, if they miss their AoEs, like say they have the Verad, Zeros type teams that I ran, and they miss their freeze AoE, he comes back and he stuns you, and he keeps stunning no matter what. So it's pretty overpowered, especially if you build him tanky. You're gonna have people always trying to kill him, and he's just gonna keep stunning you. So I would suggest building him tanky with some crit damage, like HP crit damage, HP, or HP crit damage defense, which is actually how I built my fire monkey. But other than that, he just does a lot of damage and does some dots as well, and has that stun lock kind of built into him. So he's really good. The next one, number 4 on the list, would be Perna. Obviously Perna is a really nice monster to have, comes back to life, does a lot of damage, and has a stun on turn 1. So if you build it like, I would build it Violent Will. Mostly every monster you want in RTA is going to be built with Will, unless you're planning to outspeed them like I was. I didn't need Will as much, so I negated it to get faster, more damage. But if you're building bruiser comps like Perna and Laika, you want to make sure that they're on Will, so that way they don't get defense broke and nuked down on turn 1. But of course, Perna is an obvious choice, just with the stun, the damage, and the tankiness, and coming back to life. Just build it tanky. Even HP crit damage defense on this Perna for RTA would be a good option as well. I know you guys might be thinking, well, why would I build an HP crit damage defense? Well, because Perna's going to do damage regardless, as long as you have crit damage and crit rate, she's going to be doing damage. The more HP the target enemy currently has, the larger the damage becomes. It doesn't really matter how much attack power she has, as long as she's tanky and does her job. That's all you need. Alright. Now, I know some people are going to say, well, it does matter how much attack power you have, but really when you're in the long run, the attack power is going to go up so much anyway. You're not going to need that extra damage, you're going to need that extra survivability in the beginning. Okay. Up next, number 3, we have Okeanos, the Fire Sea Emperor. He's actually really good in this as well. The second skill is really nice to have. It's the reset cooldown skill. So if you have a monster that's going to be doing, let's say, Delphoy, who is a clear choice to have in your RTA team, or if you have a Velajuel, somebody that's going to be putting up immunity, and you have somebody that's going to come behind Okeanos, or even Okeanos himself, and put down some sort of AoE stun or AoE control, you're going to need to block that immunity buffer from immunity buffing their team, and Okeanos is really good for that. Not only is he good for that, but he also has his third skill, which comes in and stuns the entire team at a really, successful rate. He actually does quite a good job of stunning the entire team. So just having Okeanos on your team, you can really put yourself in an advantage of eliminating the immunity buffer and then completely stunning the entire team, and then having your other 3 monsters kind of work away at them. I would still build him tanky as well. I wouldn't build him damage, I would still build him tanky, and kind of just work on one monster at a time as you go through. This one could also, if you wanted to build kind of like a YOLO RTA team like mine, you could build it for damage, and then just use your third skill and stun them once you debuff and defense break with Gemini. Okeanos does a good job as well. Just make sure it's speed, like crit damage attack, or speed crit rate attack even. It doesn't really matter as long as it does some damage in that sense. It just depends on what type of RTA style you want to play. Up next, we have the Fire Monkey King, and he is actually amazing and can pretty much solo when it comes to real late RTA. And he actually did a really good job for me. I built him Violent Will, HP crit damage defense with a lot of HP substats, and actually I think I built him HP crit rate when I think about it now. Let me see real quick. Yeah, it was crit rate, but as you can see, lots of HP, lots of defense, and 90% crit rate was fine. Crit damage didn't really matter, just having the crit rate so that way it's scaling and doing extra damage. But once he gets his 10 stacks, once he gets that boost from the 10%, 20%, 30% attack power boost, he's doing massive damage anyway. He just, like I said, kind of with the Perna and the Laika, just needs to make sure that he's surviving that first initial blow and surviving until that late game, because if he does, he's going to be not only doing tons of damage, he's going to be, you know, reviving himself, healing himself, and gaining extra attack power. He also has a defense leader skill, which is really nice to have in RTA, because if you use defense instead of HP, you're not going to get that taken away near the end of the match, and you're going to have to tank your monsters to finish that. Also, his base speed is unreal, so having that, it just makes him a lot easier to rune and kind of set up with your other monsters. If you build him with other, like, bruiser monsters, make sure he's going first before them, because he's a nice extra defense break to have, so that way he goes and puts the defense break down and your other bruisers come behind and take out whatever monster, just nuke down that one nuke monster that the other team might have, and can really turn the match around. But really nice monster to have. The fact that he doesn't get stunned though is probably what makes him the most OP as well, because in a meta that requires people to be stunned, stun locked, frozen, slept, all this other stuff where Hathor, Ganymede, Brad, all those other really AoE lockdown type monsters are super overpowered, this comes in and just kind of screws up with all of that. So that's what makes the Fire Monkey King really good, and I actually have a use for him. I didn't before, I didn't really use him too much, but for RTA he's actually really good. So I'm glad that there's a use for him there. Now the top fire monster in RTA, I hope you guys agree with this, I'm sure you will, but it is Velajuel, or Velajuel, however you guys say it. But this is the Fire Archangel, obviously, and the reason why is because he removes all harmful effects on all allies, granting them immunity for 3 turns and increases the attack power by 30%. If you build him with Violent Will, there's almost not a single round that you will go that your team doesn't have immunity, and that is super important in RTA, because like I said, with a meta that favors the people that are AoE stun locking, somebody that can remove those debuffs, and not only do that but also you know, grant yourself a 3-turn immunity that you can get up again really quickly. I mean, there's nothing that compares to it. And then not only that, but the fact that he does damage based on his defense, and you can build him defensively, he's not going to scale down as the match goes on. He's actually going to scale up, because he's going to be doing damage based on defense. The attack power is going to increase his damage a little bit too, and he's going to start nuking people out, but still being really tanky at the same time. So this is another monster that you're going to want to have if you're planning to go for longer fights. But other than that, I mean, Velajuel is clearly the #1 choice. Build him either defense, crit damage, defense, or you can build him speed, defense, HP, whatever one you prefer. I would recommend the second build over the first build, really, because he's still going to do damage if he doesn't have crit damage. Aside from that, guys, I hope you all enjoyed the video. The next video I'm going to do is going to be the top 5 water natural 5-star monsters for RTA, so definitely like and subscribe so you don't miss that one. And aside from that, as always, stay stupid, guys, don't be potatoes, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks, bye-bye.